Hey everybody, what's going on? This is 418 Gaming and Cold Sweps back with episode 2 of the 30 for 30. We're checking out the Arizona Coyotes. I think I only
Going
have
on,
these
boys?
jersey on. Oh, yo. These.
Ooh.
Do I have the white one?
Baby.
I don't have the white
Let
one
me
of
see,
that.
let me see, let me see.
Jets.
You want to go as the Jets?
I'll go as,
That'd be
do
dumb.
you want to go white or do you want to go as,
Yeah, I'll go.
here, you go as the
Fuck it,
alternate. Yeah, I'll go
Yeah.
white.
Cool.
Alright, let's do it.
Good? Let's do it.
Yeah, so, first thing I noticed about Arizona is that, they made a few less moves than other teams, but
Yeah.
they did make some interesting ones. They're building for the future. So, are you gonna ready
for
up here?
sure.
Or are you? What the fuck are you waiting
Oh,
for, man?
sorry, bro. I thought we were good.
Yeah. So they didn't really like lose anyone that big off their team.
No.
However,
No, but I do think that one key person that they didn't sign, rather they hired him, is their GM, their
yeah,
young
yeah,
GM. He has not turned him around, but I think he's made the right moves.
that cap space move with the Pavel Datsuk,
Yeah.
that was like a smart move for a young GM. Very bold,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
bold. And
Bold, but you know what? It might pay off.
yeah, and the
You never know.
guy, the guy we mentioned last episode that the Ducks lost, Jamie McGinn, they picked him up.
Yeah.
And you know what? I was actually looking at their roster, and Arizona picked up a few guys that I had no idea they picked up. Like they made a few moves that were
Oh.
kind of quietly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like you said, they signed McGinn, and I think I have a list of other players that they've signed, or at least you know what they've acquired through the draft or trades. Hold on a second. Let me just pull that up. Yeah, so, okay. Like we said, they're kind of in a rebuild stage. I think they have the right guy in charge with John Chayka or Chayka.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not paying attention. And I really think with him in charge, he's a young guy. He has a lot to learn. But I also think he kind of brings a new aspect to the game and being a young GM. Not many teams have a GM under 30.
You know what?
If any.
The Leafs have an assistant GM who might take over when Lamoriello's gone. But apart from that, I don't think. I think he's the youngest one, right? He's the youngest GM
Yeah.
in the history of the league,
Yeah.
I think, or pretty close.
Something like that. Yeah, I believe it is. So I think that's a good point for them. He's a really character guy, and I think that he's made the right moves. So some of those moves, just like going and looking at some of their strong points, okay? They're young,
Yeah.
which is a good
Agreed.
and bad thing, and I think it's good because in the future, 3-4 years from now, I think they'll be making the playoffs consistently. I know it might be a little
Bit of a stretch.
quick
Yeah.
in a rebuild, but you know what? I think with on D they have Ekman Larson. Okay, he's going to be around for another like 12 years, I think.
Oh yeah, and he's a
You know,
good
if
player, man.
I'm basing this off like a 20-year career. So,
Yeah.
So they have him on D. They have a young guy named Connor Murphy who isn't a point getter, but he's a solid defensive defenseman.
I like
And
him a lot.
then-
I like him a hell of a lot.
Then going to the draft this year, they signed Jakub Chychrun, who
Yeah.
I was actually hoping would fall to the Habs
Is it Chychrun?
by
Or
some
is it-
miracle.
Or is it?
I don't know what it is. Chychrun. He played 62 points, or he played 62 points. He played 62 games last year. He had 49 points
Yeah, exactly.
in the regular season, and then in the playoffs, he
And
played
for
7 games,
Sarnia,
had 8
yeah.
points.
Yeah.
That's
And,
amazing.
And that gives them the fact that they picked up Goligoski and Luke Shen,
Yeah.
and so that's going to give him time to develop in the minors. They don't have to rush him up, and I think that's an advantage that they have over some of the other teams that are drafting young, you know,
Yeah.
these guys are gonna have the time to develop their young guys in the farm teams. So I think he's a player to look forward to for sure.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
if I'm
He's got a
Arizona, like I'm looking
huge
at him.
bomb.
Oh yeah. No, definitely. They definitely have a good plan in place for the future. They're obviously like they're. I don't. They're. We're not going to see much success, in the maybe
No.
maybe next 2-3 years. I don't think, but they're
No.
definitely
No,
lining up
but
for something pretty good.
exactly. And just looking at their tough division that they're in,
Yeah.
it's like Anaheim's in there, the Sharks, the Kings. Those three teams are pretty much almost locks every year for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But then you also look at the other division in the West, and they're fighting for a wild card spot, and I don't see them beating out three teams in their division for a lock playoff spot, let alone beating out the rest of the other division for a wild card spot. I just don't see it happening.
Exactly.
So,
And you know what?
like you said, it's going to take a little while.
For next year, I actually see them. I think the only team they're going to be better than in their conference, let alone their division, is going to be the Vancouver Canucks.
That's exactly what I have.
Yeah, I see the
I
Canucks
think-
as being dead last,
Yeah.
and then them.
Yeah.
But
I actually have the Canucks dead last in the league.
yeah, and I think I do
That's
too.
saying a
Actually.
lot with Buffalo and the Oilers and the Flames. Looking at the
Yeah,
looking
but
at the last place teams last year, I think they've made significant strides.
the Flames and the
I don't
Oilers,
think
I
the
think,
Canucks
are
have.
both playoff teams in 2 years. I think
100%.
Calgary did make it 2 years or last year, 2 years ago. Not
2
to
years
say it
ago,
was
I
a
think.
fluke, but I don't think they were ready for it. They did have a good surge at the end
Yeah.
of the year, and they managed to make it, but I don't think they were ready or they had the right players. So Arizona is actually going to be interesting to watch moving forward. And that's why it's so tough for a team like this, in a rebuild stage to kind of, for the fan base especially, like it's tough to wait a whole season. I would know. I mean, early last year, knowing that the Leafs were not finishing, like they were finishing in the bottom 5 no matter what. Man, by November,
Yeah.
I was already not watching games. And Arizona's already
for
such
sure.
a tough market. Like nobody, nobody. They fought so hard to keep their team, which is nice, but it's just not a hockey market, So having a team that's
No.
in development, people don't have the patience for that. You don't know if you don't know if the league has patience for that, so you don't know if they're gonna want to, sell them to a better hockey market like Quebec.
Yeah. Or even Mississauga. I don't know if Mississauga would be the right place, but other than Quebec, I might see them moving to an Ontario region.
Yeah, Mississauga I just think is too close to Toronto. Like it's,
True.
but I mean,
Yeah,
so
because
is
Quebec City is
3 hours
Yeah, but it's a
away.
little further, right?
Yeah, but I guess
So-
you look at the Rangers and the Islanders and New Jersey. They're all in the tri-state area. Like
Yeah,
like they're all pretty
that's
close.
true,
So
but they're hockey markets.
yeah, that's true. That's true as well. Anyway, so yeah, I think there's not much to look forward to for the upcoming season, but the future is definitely bright for Arizona. Something I noticed, so I took a look at their roster real quick. Did you know that they only have currently on their depth chart 3 centermans?
Really?
Yeah, they only have 3 centermen. They have Hansel, Dylan Strome,
Yep.
and Brad Richardson. So you got to think that they're going to fill a 4th and maybe a 5th spot with guys from their farm team, right? Like you can't. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Well,
you can't start a season
even
with 3
Dylan
centermen.
Strome, do you think he's ready? Like, he didn't play last year, did he?
I don't think he did. Actually, did he play? Did he play?
He might. You know what? He probably played a couple games, but I don't think he played the entire season.
No, Dylan Strome actually played 56 games in the OHL. That's it. He didn't play in the
Yeah.
NHL, and he didn't play for the farm team. So, I mean, he's a player to keep an eye out for, I think he can be, he's going to be like a top 6 guy in 2 years. I think he's going to be a guy that has to carry a lot of the weight of the team, especially when they do become more of a contender. So he's going to be fun to watch, for sure. And they also have, well, like I know I mentioned him, but they have like Christian Dvorak to me is going to be.
Oh yeah,
pretty.
no, he scored 121 points.
Oh yeah,
for,
he played with Mitch Marner, and
London.
they were surreal. So they actually see him and Strome starting this season on the roster, and I think that makes a lot of sense. Is Dylan Strome or Christian Dvorak is the left wing? So I think he'll fit in quite nicely there. They do have quite a bit of wingers, so I don't know exactly like where he'll fit in. Because I mean, Anthony Duclair or not Duclair, sorry, on the left wing they got Max Domi, who's filling up a spot right now. They got Jordan Martinuk, who I think was also a young guy that they have a lot of faith in, and they picked up David Boland. So I think.
Who brings that grizzled veteran?
He does, but he's gonna have to take a top 6 spot, right? I mean, yeah, I don't think.
Well, you know what? Once the season starts, do you think they make a trade?
A trade for what? For like
what? A center.
For a center?
I really think they make a trade. Yeah.
Well, who do you think they get rid of?
I don't know. That's
a tough prospects.
What? I think they have the most cap space though too, so they might.
Well, they did picking up the Datsuk deal. I don't, or his contract. True. I don't know what that's gonna do, in terms of cap space. But
I think Datsuk was at 7.5 mil.
Yeah,
something like that.
He was fairly expensive, and he did have
a player they don't even have.
Yeah, exactly. And like David Boland, they signed him for 5.5 million. Shane Doan, he's making 4.5 million. Ekman Larson, he's making 6 million. Goligoski, 4.8 million. So they got a lot of guys like that who are kind of, the guys with experience, they have to pay them a lot. I guess to get them to stay in Arizona, you gotta be ready to pay them the big bucks because they got, they're veterans, knowing that they don't have a chance at a cup anytime soon.
Yeah.
So those guys are taking the big paychecks. So, I don't think it's really worth it to trade those guys because, you're not going to get much for them. And I don't think you want to trade any of your prospects because, you're trying to build the biggest prospect pool that you can. Unless you gauge that, one prospect might have a better fit somewhere else and you think you can get a centerman out of it, go for it. But
yeah,
I'm not too sure. It's going to be interesting to see. How Max Domi, he played, is it 2 years now?
He played full.
1 year only? That was only his first year?
No, one. Last year was his first.
So how many years of his, does that only take away 1 year from your entry level deal?
I think you have to play like 15 games or something like that. I know it's in the teens for games played in the show. For it actually to be like a year taken off your entry level contract.
Okay. Because he's only making 900,000.
Yeah.
But
in that 300,000 or 900,000, on top of that, he's also going to have some bonus signings and
for sure,
some contract keys to that. So I know it's kind of tough looking at a team and saying like, oh, they don't have that much in cap space, but I'm sure a lot of that goes to, nice snipe.
Thanks.
Sorry. I'm sure a lot of that goes to, bonuses at the end of the year too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm like, it's just tough because, teams like that, there's just not much to talk about. Like, not for us, I mean, but like in terms of, like for them, like you're going into the off season knowing you got a few changes to make. but you're just basically you're playing the waiting game. So there's not much else you can do there. But if we take a look right now at each position, so we just talked about the left wings. Christian Dvorak, I think, can make the third line probably this year.
Yeah, he can make the jump to the show.
Yeah, and Domi Bolin would have the top six.
Yeah.
Then at center, like I said, they have Martin Hansel, Dylan Strome, and Brad Richardson. So I think Strome is also going to get some playing time this year. They do have a right winger, Christian Fischer, who they picked up in 2015. He was like the last pick, or he was the second pick of the second round. He was a pretty good player. He played 6 games in the AHL last year and he got 3 points. But him and if Dvorak, if Dvorak was the most impressive guy at the camp, well then I think Fischer was probably the biggest shock. So he surprised a lot of guys. So he might be getting some playing time this year as well. They actually, I think, want him to be on the team this year. So that's pretty solid for them. Like we mentioned earlier, Chychrun I think is going to take another year. I don't think he's not going to be ready right away. I think from the guys that were drafted this year, you look at Matthews and maybe Liney. Those 2 guys might be ready this year, but apart from that, you can't force the young guys, right? So
No.
So at right wing you would have Anthony Duclair, which is a solid young player they could build.
He played well with Domi.
Yeah, they're part of that foundation for sure. Shane Doan obviously is their key player here, the one that everybody knows. They also have Jamie McGinn now, Radim Verbata, and Ryan White.
Ooh, Ryan White.
Do you think Radim Verbata has he ever played center? Could he fill in?
What? I'm sure players have played different positions in their career.
Right.
I'm just not sure at the level that the NHL is at. You're trying to bring a player who plays normally wing and trying to teach him or show him how to play in a system that they might be used to, playing for the same team over and over. But even then, Verbata's a new guy. For the Canucks last year, I believe, and he's going up against the guys that have played their entire careers at center.
Yeah, that's true.
It is a what? At our level, down in the beer leagues, it's not a huge deal. But up here at the show, man, it comes down to split-second decisions, and if you know what you're doing, it's a lot easier, and if you're used to it, it's a lot easier.
No, I agree. The change is tough, but I mean, we've seen players be tested on the wing and at center. You look at a guy like Galchenyuk. He was a centerman. They moved him to the wing. He had to learn a different. He had played both. He could play both.
Yep.
But they never.
Yeah. Well, now he's full-time center. And another example is Bufflin. With Chicago, he was a D.
Yeah.
Then he went to the Jets, or at least I think they changed him even in Chicago to.
Well, he went forward and then he went D.
Yeah,
he was a forward and he went D.
So. Yeah.
And same with Brent Burns.
And I actually think right now.
They put Brent Burns up front, and then they put him back on D.
Yep. Need some extra firepower on the.
I don't know. I just thought it was something interesting to think about. You only have 3 centermen. Do you want to move a kid up and rush his development? Or do you just, move, maybe trade one of your wingers?
Unless he has the potential like a Matthews or a Laine, I don't see him being ready for the NHL. Whoever that person may be, they don't have him in the system.
Exactly, so right. No, that's true. And, I mean, as much as, there are still some question marks up front, I think their defense is starting to look pretty damn good, and they do have some older guys that might be more of a temporary solution, but they also have guys that are going to be there for a while. I mean, obviously they have Ekman Larson. They got Goligoski, who to me is I think Goligoski's a top 2D, but since he's on the same side as Ekman Larson, he's going to be probably the second line pairing, and that's a pretty solid second line pairing to have
for sure.
right? Yeah.
I'd love him to be on the Habs. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'd love to have him on the Leafs.
Exactly.
You know?
And then I mean they have a guy D'Angelo, which was kind of they picked him up. I'm not too sure who that guy is. Like I haven't really heard of him. And then they also have Dalbec and Connaughton. So they have a lot of guys on D. They have a lot of space on the one side, and then they have Michael Stone on the other side, Connor Murphy, Zbigniew
Mahalik.
and Luke Shen and Tenorti. So I mean, you got like a 7th D in Tenorti, so they have way more than 7 here. So in my opinion,
Yeah.
I think you trade one of your D maybe to try to move up to a center, a D and a wing for a center. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're gonna have.
I wouldn't trade any of those core players like Domi, Duclair.
Oh no, 100%. Keep those
Chychrun.
guys.
You know, those guys are their Marner, or no, not Marner, Dylan Strome.
Yeah, Dylan Strom.
You know, those
guys
I
are
guess
not
those
moving. They're not
4
going anywhere.
prospects, yeah.
They also have
Those 4
Kraus.
and Dvorak, even Dvorak.
They have
Yeah,
Kraus on the left
Victor,
wing,
no,
but
not
like they
Victor.
they didn't really slot him anywhere. And you know what? David Bolin can play center, which I didn't think about. He could play center, and so can Ryan White. Ryan White played center.
Yep. He only played
times
center
too.
for us, so.
So as much as they only have 3 natural centers, they still have versatile players that could probably play both.
Yeah, they have some utility players that can maybe play both.
So it might be kind of interesting to see what they decide there. I think a guy like Ryan White, I'd rather have a guy like Ryan White playing 4th line center than taking a guy like David Boland and taking him off like the 1st or 2nd line to put him as a 3rd line, 4th line center, Like a guy like David Boland, they're going to need some sort of grit and some experience and skill up front. I don't know. I don't think he did that great in Florida in last year. Was it last year?
I think they offered him too much money. He didn't live up to it. I think
Exactly. He had a good year. He had a good year, and that was it. So.
Yeah. Well, same with Matt Bolesky. The Bruins signed him, I think, before last year.
Right.
And they gave him way too much money because he had, like, I think 30 goals. But I think that was a fluke season. Something like that,
Right.
So yeah, we do have some versatile players.
Yeah. So overall, I think our projections are fair. I think we won't be alone to expect them to be at the bottom of the league. I think it's very reasonable of us to think that.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's good for the kids. I think the kids are going to get a lot of playing time. I expect them to almost double the offense they created last season.
Yeah. Well, you know what's weird? Or not weird, but for a team that didn't finish so well, at home they went 22-15-4.
Really?
It's their away record. They went 13-24-4. Like, that's complete opposite.
And how
if they could switch 5 games on the road, I'm pretty sure they would have had a wild card spot. That's 10 points.
That's true. That's
10
true,
points.
man. But what do you think is the key to changing the away record? Like, where do you think that comes into play? Is it the players, or is this like
I think it's
team
I
dynamic,
think it's their special teams.
coaching?
I think it's special teams. Okay, their PP last year was 20th. Okay, they're at 17%.
Yeah.
That's not very good. Okay, their PK was even worse. They were 28th in the league, only defending 75% of the time.
Oof.
That is abysmal. And in the NHL, you can't have a number like that and expect to make the playoffs. You just can't.
I completely agree with you, man. Yeah. So I
think this year they focus on their young guys and they focus on their special teams. I think that's what they really need to look at and maybe
chip away games on the road.
Not work or effort, but put the most emphasis on it. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, I totally agree, man. That was another solid review or projection for this season.
Yeah. So that's Arizona done.
So that's Arizona. That was good.
Next is Boston.
Next is Boston. I fucking hate Boston, so that's gonna be great.
Yeah, I fucking hate them.
All right, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. That was episode 2 of our 30 for 30. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know what you think. And we'll be back with another episode tomorrow. Hopefully go 30 episodes in 30 days, if we can.
Peace out, guys.
Later.